Hey, psychoers, do you ever feel like you don't measure up? Hey, psychoers, do you ever feel like you don't measure up? Like there's this one thing that if you had, then and only then would you be enough. You'd be worthy of love, acceptance, and happiness. You're not alone. Sometimes we get so caught up in the little details, in the things we can change, or the parts of ourselves we want to hide, that we forget to look at the bigger picture. We forget to appreciate all that we are and all that we have. So this story is a reminder to do just that. So let's begin. In a world where everyone was beautiful, where every face was a masterpiece, lived a woman who felt like a forgotten painting. Her name was Alara, which meant shining light, but her life seemed shrouded in a fog that dimmed her inner radiance. Now, this wasn't because she lacked beauty. In fact, her features were as sharp and clear as the facets of a diamond, but she saw only flaws. The curve of her lips too wide, the color of her hair too bright, the freckle on her nose a blemish. She looked at other women with their perfect complexions and graceful figures and felt inadequate. Every morning when Alara woke up, she would walk to the grand mirror in her room, its surface so polished it could capture the soul. And she would stare at her reflection with a mixture of longing and despair. She wished she could mold herself into someone else, anyone else, as long as she wasn't Alara. One day an old woman noticed Alara's despondency. This woman was no ordinary person. She was the keeper of the mirror, and the mirror was no ordinary object. It was a magical mirror that showed not just the physical form but also the essence of a person's being. The keeper believed that true beauty came from within, and she wanted to help Alara see this. "Why do you torture yourself, child?" she asked gently. Alara jumped at the sound of the voice. She hadn't heard the keeper approach. She turned slowly, her eyes downcast, and replied, "I am not beautiful. My features are too strong, my skin too dark, my smile too wide. I am a jumble of sharp edges and harsh colors. I wish I could be like the reflection of those women you see in the mornings, smooth and delicate." The keeper of the mirror smiled knowingly. She had seen many such reflections in the mirror's depths, including her own at times. She knew the pain of comparing oneself to an unrealistic ideal. Reaching out, she placed a hand on Alara's shoulder. "Child, the mirror does not lie. But what you see in it is not the whole truth either. Come, I will show you something." She led Alara to the mirror. They stood before it, the old woman and the young girl, each lost in thought. Then the keeper did something unexpected. She closed her eyes and raised her hands. Suddenly the mirror shimmered and changed. The polished surface became cloudy, like an old, fogged-up window. When the keeper opened her eyes again, Alara gasped. The reflection staring back at her was still undeniably her, yet it was different. Her sharp edges had softened, her harsh colors had mellowed, and the jumble of features that she had loathed now seemed to form a coherent whole. Most importantly, the reflection looked at her kindly, as if it were her own. Soul smiled back at her warmly. Alara's heart pounded in her chest. She couldn't understand what was happening. The keeper of the mirror turned to her, her eyes twinkling. "Do you see now, child? Do you understand?" Alara was still in shock, but something in the keeper's tone made her nod slowly. The keeper continued, "We spend so much time wishing we were someone else, trying to fit into a mold that we think will make us happy. But we are beautiful already. Our features, our flaws, our quirks, they are all part of what makes us who we are. Who we are is enough. More than enough." As if to emphasize her point, the reflection in the mirror began to change again, to become sharper, brighter, more detailed, until it was no longer a soft, gentle image, but Alara's true reflection, beautiful and fierce. It took a moment for Alara to process what the keeper had said. Her throat tightened as realization dawned on her. All those years of hating her reflection, all those hours spent wishing for something different, it had been for nothing. She was beautiful. She was enough. Tears welled up in her eyes, not tears of sadness, but tears of joy and gratitude. Tears of joy for the truth she had realized, and gratitude for the keeper who had shown her the way. The keeper of the mirror watched her, a serene smile on her face. She had done her part. Now it was up to Alara to accept the truth. The two stood in silence for a while, just looking at each other, the young woman and the old woman. Both beautiful in their own right, both reflecting different stages of the same truth. Finally, Alara spoke. Her voice was shaky at first, but as she continued, it grew stronger, surer. "Thank you. she said, her eyes shining with newfound confidence. I didn't know I was beautiful, but you showed me. You showed me that I am. The keeper of the mirror nodded. You were always beautiful, child. You just needed to see it, to believe it. From that day forward, Alara was a changed woman. She walked with her head held high, her shoulders squared, her eyes shining with the light of self-acceptance. She was still Alara, the woman with the wide smile, the dark skin, the sharp features. But now she was also Alara, the beautiful Alara, the enough. She understood now that beauty wasn't just about having the right features or looking like everyone else. It was about embracing who you are, flaws and all. Because that's what makes you you, and that's what makes you beautiful. And here's the most important part of the story. It wasn't just Alara who discovered this truth. Every time someone looked into the mirror, a piece of this realization broke off and floated out. Whispering on the wind, traveling through the streets, reaching out to touch every heart it could find. For every young girl who stared at her reflection and wished she were someone else, for every man who tried to hide his wrinkles and scars, for every person who thought they weren't beautiful enough, the truth went reminding them that they were enough, just as they were. The story of Alara spread throughout the kingdom. People began to question their own perceptions of beauty. They started to see the beauty in their own reflections, in their own stories. The world began to change, to become more accepting, more loving, more beautiful. All because a young woman named Alara learned to love herself. Have you ever struggled with loving yourself? How did you overcome it? Share your story with us in the comments below. And if you like this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. See you next time.